Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over the market. Let's talk about what is happening to NVIDIA, what we can expect moving forward. Can this thing go even higher, or has it finally met its match and it's time to finally get some downward pressure and get a small correction? That's the question. Let's go over it. I'll give you my thoughts. If you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts on the charts, etc., well, I do share my thoughts with my members every single day the market is open. So definitely check that out. That link is down below if you're interested. For just $5 a month, which you can see a lot of posts right throughout the day. Some days more, some days less, of course, naturally speaking. But it's just $3 a month. That's all it is for the Tesla tier. So if you're interested in Tesla updates as the market is open and trading throughout every single trading day, yeah, I'm always there updating. So again, just $3 a month. However, for $5, you also add NVIDIA to that if you're interested. For NVIDIA updates, $7 also adds non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA stocks that I share with my members. And over the weekend, every Sunday, I do chart requests on Discord. All that, of course, is down below if you're interested for the YouTube membership in the description of the video. NVIDIA closing about 1% in the green, closing out pretty much 173 on the dot, actually, looking pretty decent compared to the market. You know, arguably a bit of an underperformance relative to the market, but nonetheless, still holding strong up here. I have to say, very impressive strength. It is holding above this channel quite impressively. At this point, I'm starting to think my channel is drawn incorrectly because this is ridiculous. This is pretty insane. But, you know, taking a look at the Fibonacci extensions here, you can see it is starting to find potentially some resistance as we approach that 1.272 Fib extension, right? At pretty much 174. If we clear 174, then the next target is 176, and the final target will be closer to like 179, maybe even 180. Those are the last two targets to the upside I see. I mean, above that, you know, I mean, there are targets. It's just that will be pretty insane if we don't get a pullback first. So I'll be watching for those two above as first. But, you know, that's kind of the upside, right? If NVIDIA can start reclaiming 174, watch for that. Reclaiming 176, watch for 179 roughly. Now to the downside, right? You know, the stock is strong. Let's just get this out of the way. The stock is, you know, obviously strong. Obviously, the bulls have full control of the stock. But, you know, if things don't go well, for whatever reason, the stock decides to slip and fall and whatever the case may be, whatever the narrative is, whatever the case is, right? If the stock essentially loses, in my opinion, 2 days low, right? 2 days low, pretty much 170. If it loses 170 / 169, honestly, about that $1 or $1.50 range, that to me is going to start signaling at the very least a retrace back down to the 9 exponential moving average pretty quickly. But if NVIDIA doesn't lose those levels, so we'll just say 170 roughly, but it also doesn't get back above 174, and let's say it just gets contained within that 174 to 170 range, so about that $4 range around here, well, the 9 exponential moving average will naturally catch up to the stock, and that's when we can start assessing more in that sense, because again, the 9 EMA has been very, very important. Not a single time is convincingly closed below the 9 exponential moving average ever since it had this essentially bullish crossover, nice impulsive move up, nice bull flag, and then just pretty much has continued ever since, just hugging the 9 EMA, not losing it convincingly a single damn time. So, you know, if it ever loses the 9 EMA, that would give me some potentially, you know, minor, I guess you can say, warning signs. The fact that the momentum is slipping, right? And then, you know, we can consolidate and go lower and correct a bit deeper, closer to that 21 EMA, which is currently sitting at 160 roughly. Could be a little bit higher, of course, by the time, if and when it happens, of course, but just, you know, worth mentioning. Back to the 21 EMA, which also right now roughly around this low 160s kind of lines up with this potential support zone as well, also in the you know, low 160s roughly. That'll be that kind of level as of right now. But again, if this takes too long, if NVIDIA continues grinding up or just goes sideways and doesn't really lose any of these levels, you know, naturally these exponential moving averages are going to keep moving up, and then that support level will slowly get raised up higher to where potentially it could even be as high as about 165, which was that resistance-ish right around here. If the 21 EMA also catches up to around that 165-ish zone as well. Hopefully that makes sense, because again, it depends on how long it takes, right? If the stock decides to collapse tomorrow, yeah, we can come back down much quicker to these lower levels faster. However, if it doesn't, then it takes too long and it just consolidates for like another week up here, for instance, and then decides to come down, well, you know, the exponential moving averages will act as a support, but they'll already be closer to the stock than they are today. So hopefully that makes sense. But in other words, that's kind of all I'll be looking at. Clear 174, see 176, clear 176, we see 179/180. However, lose 170/169 roughly, and we most likely correct back down. As of right now, I would assume somewhere around the mid 160s. if it happens, let's say, as early as tomorrow, for instance, for whatever reason. Otherwise, we'll continue reassessing it further down the road. But overall, the stock is still very, very bullish. Now, if the stock ever gets actual bearish reversal, like an actual deeper correction, and let's say it comes back within the channel, then a move back to the lower end of the channel is definitely not impossible, which can easily bring the stock back down to the mid to low 150s. Now, obviously, that's going to be... It seems impossible at this point, right? I mean, I don't know. There are any bears left, to be completely honest, on NVIDIA. This stock has just seen an absolutely euphoric type movement. Like this is pretty unbelievable. Like if you somehow snipe the bottom over here, you're already up pretty much double, which is unbelievable. But hey, it is what it is. Stock is still showing strength, and I see no major reasons. The worst case scenario I see short term, while still maintaining overall bullish bias, and this is like a deeper correction for sure, would be a pretty decent move back down. It's actually not that bad, honestly. It's only about, maybe 13 or so percent. Honestly, not even that much, to be completely honest with you, with how aggressive this move has been up. But that would be a move all the way back here to essentially retest this massive support zone on the weekly time frame for NVIDIA. But again, this will take time, and, at the very least will take until earnings, in my opinion. The only thing I can see that can trigger this is earnings maybe isn't as good or whatever. But that's like my kind of worst case bull case scenario, if that makes sense. A retest of this sort of massive mid-ish to high 140s area of support. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's that much more to talk about. We can take a quick look at the 1 hour chart. Let's see if there's anything here. This is annoying. Let me go ahead and change this to only being shown on the daily chart. Here we go. Let's go to the 1 hour time frame very, very quickly. So yeah, just the other day I mentioned how this, little bull flag is setting up, and now we're kind of playing out that little bull flag. And honestly, we're actually setting up a really small version of the bull flag here as well. You can see a nice, beautiful move up. Now we're kind of setting up a small bull flag, which can see NVIDIA move up that one extra level to those Fibonacci's I just mentioned, closer to maybe even 176. Absolutely not, impossible, especially at the rate this stock has been going. So let's watch for that, and let's see if this can play out in that kind of fashion. But, worth mentioning, there is a small little bull flag kind of setting up over here. So if I were to go here, and if I were to take the flag pole, let me go ahead and remove these quickly for now. Right, so it looks something like this, right? Kind of like, roughly from around here, nice little pull, and if it breaks out somewhere around here, yeah, brings it up pretty much right to that 176, 177-ish zone. So that will be kind of that target if and when, of course, it breaks out roughly from this small little petite bull flag, but enough to bring it up a few more dollars potentially as well. So let's see how this plays out. But overall, bulls, yeah, complete control. I mean, if you're looking at the stock and you're thinking of shorting it, you could get lucky, of course, maybe with the stop loss above today's high, for instance. Not the worst idea, I guess, in the world, but, you are absolutely fighting the trend. The trend is unquestionably up. Eventually, it'll change. Eventually, the trend, at least short term, will be back down, right? The stock can't just only go up pretty much forever. I mean, maybe it can at this point. It seems like it can, but technically, it shouldn't be able to. At some point, the stock will correct. At some point, it will make a move back down. That's just how these things go, right? Of course. But as of right now, are there any signs suggesting that that's ready to come and, ready to begin, let's say tomorrow? No, nothing at all. There's nothing suggesting the stock is ready to correct. The stock is still looking very bullish. I mean, it's just no other way to put it. On the options flow, a little bit of bearish flow today throughout the day, but the bulls are still dominating, guys. The bulls are still overall dominating. We had a 4.1 million call here, 1.4 million call here, all for next month of the 15th, 175 strike, 180 strike. The bulls are just unhinged, man. They see the stock go down like 0.5% and they just go all in, it feels like. So yeah, the bulls are still in full control. I see no reason to think otherwise. I see no reason to put on my bearish hat. Maybe eventually, but not yet, that's for sure. So, just, yeah, hey, watch the 9 EMA. As long as the 9 EMA hasn't been breached, assume NVIDIA is in absolute and utter bullish control. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.